SuperTalk Mississippi media production.
When addiction takes control, getting help can change everything. Parkwood Behavioral Health System offers compassionate, evidence-based addiction treatment for adults right here in Mississippi. Take the first step today. Visit parkwoodbhs.com. Healing starts here. With limited exceptions, physicians are not employees or agents of this facility.
Roll pre-record on my count. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Roll A, fade up on A.
Southern Miss to the top. You're tuned in to the Eagle Hour.
Okay, let's go. SuperTalk Eagle Hour is on the air. We're broadcasting from the Southern Bancorp studio here in Oak Grove, Mississippi. Bob, Kelly, and Dima all with you today, and we're glad you're with us. Hope you're dry out there today. Unlike the area colleges, we came to work even though it was raining, Kelly Sander.
Yeah, I understand William Carey University closed classes or shut the campuses down and I wonder how much of that is because their coast campus is certainly under more threat than the Hattiesburg campus is, and I guess you can't close one without the other. I don't know how all that works.
No, we'll see. As it turns out, it wasn't that bad. I love the sound of rain in the morning when I wake up. How about you guys? That's nothing better than that.
It's under and you just got your patio covered, so you can hear the rain hit that roof.
Sit out under the patio.
Cup of coffee and
oh man,
Pearl Girl.
All right, I think I'm leaving. I'm going home and do that. Hey, welcome to the show, everybody. Opening segment sponsored today by Dickey's Barbecue Pit, which is a great place to take your family for a good meal tonight. The food is always fresh and delicious, and it's a great place to cater your next event, whether it be large or small, and Justin Harris knows how to engineer some catering.
4th of July coming up, and there's going to be
great idea.
A lot of family picnics out at Paul B. Johnson State Park and things like that. So enjoy the fellowship and leave the food to Dickey's.
Right. All right, well, now we're down to 2 in the College World Series. It's Oklahoma and North Carolina. I thought we'd talk a little bit about that to start the show off today. Let's start with you today, Kelly. What have you learned overall watching the College World Series this year? Is there anything that jumps out at you about the state of college baseball today?
That when push comes to shove in any tournament at any level, which teams' pitching staffs are performing at the highest level? And I think that's what you're seeing now. As well as Georgia hit during the regular season, the Bulldogs go into the World Series and just lay an egg offensively. And people go, well, man, I just don't understand why we can't hit. Well, the reason you can't hit is because you've got some really good pitching going up against you. Right. You always have to remember that when people say, oh, man, we're just not hitting the ball. Well, you got really good pitchers throwing against you, and that's why teams, when they build their teams, you better have a good starting rotation. You better have a good pitching staff, or it won't matter. Mm-hmm. And Georgia they ran into some buzzsaws at the wrong time. That's what jumps out to me, that it just reinforces the point that when push comes to shove, the pitching staff is going to win it.
I think it reinforces the point that whatever team is hot is just going to win. I mean, that's Georgia roster-wise and talent-wise is better than Oklahoma. I mean, there's just no question about it. But Oklahoma's just hot right now. You know, they went to Georgia Tech. They put out Georgia Tech in Atlanta. They went to Kansas for the Super, right, and swept them, and then now knock out Georgia, and they're undefeated into the final. So that's just a hot baseball team, and North Carolina has had a great season and things like that, and so it was no surprise to see them come out of that side of the bracket. But Oklahoma obviously is a surprise, and like you said, I mean, when your team is very, very offensive heavy, because Georgia, their pitching wasn't particularly great all season. I mean, you saw in the Mississippi State Super Regional, what was the final score of both those games? Like 13-12, 14-13 or something like that. So they needed their offense to produce in the World Series, and it just never did. Even in the games they won, over Texas, they won, 2-0, and I think 7-0, but 4 of those runs were because the catcher couldn't throw it to first base. So, I mean, it was surprising to see Georgia's offense so bad, and then it's equally as surprising to see Oklahoma being so good right now. And this was an Oklahoma team that, in the beginning of the season, everybody was ranking them in the top 5, and they just caught fire late, and now you see where they're at. So, but it's fun. I really enjoy it, watching the World Series. There's nothing like it. And it's just funny because, whenever you see the end of something, the end of baseball season, you look back at everything that everybody said, like, oh, UCLA will never get beaten, Georgia will never get beaten, Georgia Tech will never get beaten. Right. And here's Oklahoma and North Carolina in the final.
Keep in mind, Oklahoma defeated the ACC champion, the SEC champion, and the Big 12 champion. And they were, I think they were similar in a sense to Troy in that they were sort of middle of the pack in their league all year. I mean, it wasn't like that when you thought about the SEC this year, you thought of Oklahoma. You know, Oklahoma's the great baseball power.
And I still think a lot of people associate Oklahoma with the Big 12 because they're still kind of the new kids on the block in the SEC. But one of the things to me that's magical about college baseball, it makes me smile when the subject of college baseball comes up, and we've seen it now consistently, you can't buy a national championship in college baseball. Mm-hmm. You remember when LSU a couple of years ago went out and bought, including a Southern Miss, some Southern Miss players, and spent all this money on getting those players, had a terrible year then afterwards. Teams this year went out and bought, some great players. And Troy, who has a budget like the 10th of those other schools, is right in there with them. So as much money as a lot of these colleges are spending to bring in kids in NIL, it's not translating to a natty.
Texas has an athletic budget of $332 million, Georgia $223 million, and neither one of them are in the finals. But listen to the disparity. North Carolina, $188 million athletic budget. This was a year ago. Oklahoma, $205 million. West Virginia, $150 million. Georgia, $223 million. Texas, $332 million. Troy, $38.5 million. So good for the Trojans, man.
So that's 1/10 of the Texas budget.
1/10 of the Texas budget, yes.
Unfortunately, in my contention is that the only sport that Troy could compete against those other schools would be in baseball.
Correct, I agree.
So,
I think that's the only sport that the I hate to use that term, the group of four, the smaller schools, I contend it's the only sport now left they can't compete.
And it's being proven that you can't buy a national championship in baseball. You can buy one in basketball, you can buy one in football. Yeah. But so far,
why is that?
That's a very good question that I don't know the answer to. I'm glad. And one of the things we're going to talk about later on in the program is the Save College Athletics Act that the U.S. Senate is voting on today, and we'll kind of break that down, what that might mean. But if the NCAA isn't willing to take this issue head on of the transfer portal and all this money that these kids are getting, then at least, and we know how efficient our government is sometimes, so you kind of hold your breath, but at least something is being tried, to bring. But that's a good question, Bob, as to why it's not translating in baseball like it does in football and baseball.
It's just it's just a different sport. I mean, with football, when you look at the size difference between Texas and Troy, when they get up on a football field, especially as far as roster sizes, backups. Everyone's state game here, and they're not even a good SEC team. They had 3 offensive linemen, just rolling one after another.
We were both a little stunned.
Right. And so in football, you're just pounding against those guys for 4 quarters at a time, and it's hard to get those upsets. You see them. You see the occasional upsets, but definitely not to the level of you see them in baseball. In basketball, man, you take 3 players who are NBA-style players and put them up against anybody. That's just the way basketball, the game is. Baseball's different. There's so many variables. The ball could bounce one way. You could drop a pop fly. You could. And I'm not saying that's the only way you beat the big teams. I'm just saying there's so many variables in the game of baseball that even if you have a lineup like Georgia had, where every single one of them is hitting over 300 in double-digit home runs, they can have a bad game. Yeah. They can go, whatever that kid who was like the SEC Player of the Year was like under 100 in the whole tournament.
The team, their team hit under 200.
Right, but that's the difference. Is like, for example, when you look at, let's just say Texas, for example, Arch Manning. Arch Manning might have one bad game, all season when he plays football. But even a subpar game from Arch Manning, Texas probably still beats the best Sun Belt team.
Oh yeah.
So. But a subpar game from Georgia in baseball, Troy beat Georgia this year.
I also think that because of the variables, and we've talked about it on the show, there's different ways to build baseball teams. You can build one with power. You can build it with hitters for average. A lot of different mixture of lefties and righties. All of those sorts of things. Whereas football, if you've got the biggest, strongest guys, you're probably going to win.
Well, on paper, you would say North Carolina should win this, but I don't know, man. Right now, Oklahoma might be the hottest team in America, and Oklahoma could win the whole thing.
And
I agree.
And I can't. If Oklahoma wins this, you wonder how the Oklahoma football fans are going to react, because Oklahoma has always been.
It is a football school.
It is, buddy. And I don't know sometimes if the football community is going to like the fact that here come these punk baseball guys trying to horn in on our.
I'll tell you, when Boomer Sooner football takes the field,
Oh, yeah.
that's what everybody will be focused on. There's no question about that.
And see, I think Indiana's kind of having that same crisis.
Yeah, now that's an interesting comparison there.
Yeah, an identity crisis, because Indiana's been the basketball kings forever, as far as history goes and tradition. And here their football team rises up and wins a natty. So some of these schools are maybe going to have to transition.
Are they going to beat Ohio State again this year, Indiana?
Who?
And Indiana and win the Big Ten?
I don't know, Bob. I cover Southern Miss. I don't care about the Big Ten.
Oh, that's a good way to get social media off your back, Dima. Good answer.
If it makes you feel better, Damon, we're going to talk football later in the show.
Okay.
We'll be right back.
Big news from Robinson Electric Supply in Laurel. We've moved. You'll now find us directly behind our old building, right by Sawmill Animal Hospital. We're still your trusted electrical distributor, carrying everything from conduit to tape. And don't forget our full line of Milwaukee tools. Whether you're a contractor or a DIY pro, stop by the new Robinson Electric Supply at 1222 West 6th Street and see what's lighting up Laurel. Robinson Electric Supply. New location, same trusted service.
Southern Miss to the top. To the top. You're tuned in to the Eagle Hour.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Eagle Tire West sponsors this segment of our program, and today's a good example of why you need good tires on your car, Kelly.
Hydroplaning is a big problem when you're. Of course, if you don't have to be out today, don't. But certainly take it slower than you normally would.
And if you have some questions about your tires, take them down to Eagle Tire West on Highway 98 West. That's where Matt Warren and his guys, they sell Goodyear and other major brands, and get any brand you like, actually. Full service on your truck and car. They'll take a look at your tires free of charge and see if you maybe need a balance and alignment, maybe a new tire on your vehicle.
And lots of times, too, you think because you see tread on your tire, you think you're good.
Right.
But you have to have a certain amount of clearance on that tread for it to grip the road properly.
You know what the old deal is, don't you? You take the penny, the bright penny, put it in there, and if Lincoln's head is revealed, you got to get a new tire.
I was going to say, I've heard that, but is that, I thought that was in a wives' tale. But
we're going to ask Matt Warren that.
Okay.
We'll find out from Matt Warren. I bet he'd know, what you think?
Yeah, I would think so. Yeah.
Hey, and it's a rainy, kind of chilly day. It'd be a good day for a Mobe Beignet, 2902 Hardy Street. You can check out their Facebook page, and they'll cook you some hot beignets when you go down there, and a good coffee. But they'd be perfect for that one.
Yeah, and they got the canopies out there, too, where you could actually sit outside and hear the rain hit the pavement while you're enjoying those.
And in case you don't get enough of this important information like we're sharing with you right now, and I'm sure you probably have, but just in the event you haven't, you can always hear it again, Kelly, on Apple, Audible, Spotify, Stitcher, TuneIn, YouTube, or who'll play it for you if you ask her, Kelly?
Alexa and Siri will play it for you.
Yes. And Dima, of course. Speaking of Dima, look at Dima all dressed up here today. I thought maybe Dima had I don't know, maybe
the Republican National Convention isn't for a couple
it's
years.
A couple years away. Actually, they're doing a midterm one.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You're right. He looks like a young Republican headed to the RNC.
Yeah, to the delegate.
Got his hair all combed and
yeah, look at that.
What's the occasion, Damon?
Well, as they say in the business, our listeners will have to see.
Oh, okay.
It's a tease. I can't divulge what I'm going to do.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
All right, so this is going to make everybody feel better. Congress is on top of the problem in college athletics, Damon. Fill us in.
The Protect College Sports Act passed the Senate Commerce Committee 19-9, so it advances to the Senate. So here's the what the bill it has in it. Number one, it would create national NIL rules. So this replaces the patchwork of state NIL laws with one federal standard. Basically, they regulate NIL deals. They require more oversight of booster collective and third-party payments. The second biggest thing is it limits transfers. Athletes would get one unrestricted transfer. A second transfer could cost them a season of eligibility. Also, it gives the NCAA limited antitrust protection, so basically to enforce rules on transfers, eligibility, and compensation without facing as many lawsuits as they do. When they enforce a rule, you see all the time where athletes will go and, what we like to call is fishing for judges who vote for them.
Right here in Mississippi, actually.
Yes.
With Trinidad up at Ole Miss.
Chambliss, yeah.
Trinidad Chambliss. And Sorsby, wound up leaving Texas Tech because of all the lawsuits.
Fourthly, it would add athlete protections, so like scholarship protections, medical coverage, those types of things. Restrict coaches from leaving during the season. And this is actually entitled in the bill the Lane Kiffin rule. So this would limit coaches from taking another job before their season ends, which I'm not sure really how you would enforce that because the way the calendar is as far as the college football season, I don't really know how you enforce that, but that might get changed. And then it addresses conference power. So it basically includes provisions aimed at preventing further consolidation by the biggest conference and media right arrangements and all that stuff. As far as supporters, obviously, Nick Saban is probably the biggest proprietary of this bill. He's been on Capitol Hill several times in favor of it. You see a lot of university presidents, the ACC, Big 12, and American all endorsed it, which I thought was funny because the two biggest conferences didn't say much. As you see in Big 10, it was the ACC, Big 12, and American. The MLB and the Players Association also endorsed it. The two most powerful leagues in college sports, according to this report released by ESPN, SEC and the Big Ten released a joint statement opposing the bill.
Opposing the bill.
Yes.
All right, so I'm going to ask you both this question, and then I'll give you my opinion. If you could do one thing to try to improve the current situation in college athletics, Kelly, what issue would you address?
The transfers to me is bigger than the NIL thing because it's just ridiculous. I mean, as a broadcaster too, these guys and some women now, 4 different schools in 4 different years. I mean, those are not student athletes; those are professional athletes.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd say the transfer portal, no more one-time transfers. If you could just get rid of that, if you transfer to a school, you have to stay there for 2 years. I think that's fair. That would take down. That's not even as harsh as I want it to be, but just say you have to be there for 2 years. The one-time transfer stuff is getting ridiculous, and I think if you just made that simple change, and then teams like every single year when you have a good season, you wouldn't have to worry about all your players getting taken.
Well, I agree completely, and I think another way you address that is the old rule. Yeah, you can transfer, but you're going to sit out a year if you transfer.
And what was wrong with that?
Well, I don't think there was anything wrong with it.
Now, here's and we don't ever talk politics on that show, but as part of this is what I'm going to find is interesting. Dima just mentioned that the SEC voted they are not for this rule. We know it's a fact that a lot of the Mississippi legislators come from Ole Miss. All right, you've got 2 U.S. senators who are big time Republicans. All right, and Roger Wicker and Cindy Hyde Smith. How this is going to go before the full Senate? How are they going to vote?
It'd be interesting to see, won't it?
Yeah, because when
are they going to go against the SEC?
Remember, it was President Trump that initially
that's a great question
started this discussion.
It has to get 60 votes, to break the filibuster, and I just don't see it happening just because it has Trump's name on it. It's funny because Donald Trump said on he's in G7 right now, but he said, he was talking about another bill, but he was like, maybe I should just start telling Congress not to pass these bills because then they might actually do it, So it's just hard for me to believe that anything will get done over there.
I get it, but the votes.
Because then it has to get sent back to the House.
But our Mississippi votes are both Trump people.
Yeah, and it'd be interesting to see all kinds of states. Let's go back to the Big Ten. Are the 2 Ohio senators really going to vote against something that Ohio State is opposed to? I'm not trying to single out Ohio State. I mean, it's every state with the major conferences with Alabama. You think anybody that's in the Senate in Alabama is going to vote against the wishes of the University of Alabama?
Actually, Perhaps.
Maybe Tommy Tupperville.
Because remember,
Nick Saban.
Nick Saban was the one that started. And when it comes to SEC money, one of the reasons that Saban left, as he said, as influential as Alabama is, financially, they can't hang with Vanderbilt. They can't hang with Texas. They can't hang with Georgia. So that'll be interesting. But the point about the two Mississippi...
What is that? Let me wipe that tear out of my eye right there, if you will, Kelly.
But the thing about the two Mississippi U.S. senators is they're both Trump people. All right? And Trump wants this.
Interesting, yeah.
But Ole Miss and State probably don't want this. So how are they going to go? And, if you go against the president... Lots of times there's...
I would assume that all Republicans would vote in favor of the bill. It's just going to be about whether the Democrats give Trump a win. I mean, that's the political climate we're at.
They're not.
I know, but I'm just saying that's the political climate we're at. I don't even think it's about, if you're going to side with your conference. It's just about that.
Be. It's interesting, though, and something definitely needs to be done. And I think the three of us agree. Problem number one is this absurd behavior of... I'm going to play here this year.
Right.
I'm going to put myself in the portal, see what I get next year, and I'm going to do the same thing the year after year after year.
But
so when Southern Miss, and this is a lower, obviously, it's not at the top where it's Ohio State and Alabama's and Texas, but when Southern Miss takes the field this year, nobody on this, none of the fans are going to know any of the players off. That's going to take them 6 or 7 games.
It's terrible.
Because unless you follow it closely like I do, you're not going to know.
No, it's terrible.
And it's going to be like that every single season.
I was going to say, and then by the time you do get to know them, you'll have to forget them because they'll be gone.
I remember hearing you and Glenn Dyer talk about when you first went out to spring practice.
Yeah.
You took a couple of days for you.
We did a video. We do these videos, and we have our own little show. We did a video on the field. We had the roster in front of us, and I remember sitting there thinking, well, number 8, we were saying this because we just didn't know, and it was after 3 weeks. Man, number 9 looked good. Who's him? And Glenn had the roster in front of him, and he was like, Roger, whatever. That's just the way it is. And it's not just football; it's basketball too. When basketball takes the floor this year, I mean, when we had the basketball coach on the other yesterday, I didn't know all those players.
Well, I think they're 2 back from last year.
Right. Yeah. And so I just think that's a disservice to the fans.
But you know what?
It takes away rooting for a guy in college. And that's why you just root for players who stick with it, like the John Whites.
I completely agree.
But shame on the NCAA.
Completely agree.
Shame on the NCAA that they don't have the stones to make these rules themselves. I mean, that's part of...
Well, I just think they're not enforceable. They do have the rules, and they do try to enforce them, but then, like the bill is going to try to fix...
They go to court.
Right.
But why can't they come up with those rules themselves, the NCAA, rather than...
Because they don't have binding authority.
Yeah. Well, then give them the binding authority,
yes.
but then let them... That's what leadership is about, is taking
And if
I
would have one person with binding authority, I would put Nick Saban.
Yeah, I think he has a lot of credibility,
yes.
Does he not? Yeah. So anyway, we'll see. We'll keep you in tune to how that all works out. When we come back, we're going to try to find our good buddy, our football analyst in the fall, Lee Roberts, play-by-play or color commentator for Golden Eagle football,
and guest on the Legends with Bob Getty podcast at one time, wasn't he?
Coincidentally, yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes. As coincidentally, it was released today.
Oh, wow! Great timing.
What a coincidence!
Yeah.
We'll be right back.
Southern Miss to the top.
All right, welcome back, everybody. This segment is sponsored by D-Bat down on Hardy Street. That's where you go for your baseball and softball trainings, where you go if you're an adult to be the best you can be in any sport that you choose. They've got a great facility down there, expert instructors, and they're eager to help you at D-Bat on Hardy Street. Hey, our friends at MCS Home Center are also eager to help you. They've got everything you'll ever need for your home repair, your home remodeling, your home construction. They've got home, lawn, and garden materials right and left. It's a beautiful store, fully stocked, right out on Highway 98 West, and, of course, locally owned and operated, and that's just so important. We sure hope that you'll do all of your shopping in that regard at MCS Home Center.
Well, the weather's going to make it a lot easier for you to do things inside. right? The next couple of days.
Yeah, that's for sure.
If you got things that need to be taken care of inside, because
So let me just say, we're not going to be able to get Lee Roberts on the phone. We're just having some technical issues here, and hopefully we'll overcome them here in the next few days. But what we were going to bring him on to talk about, and hopefully we can do that in the next few days, is now the baseball's over. Guys, it's not going to be long. We're pushing the end of June here. We're about 60 days, 60, 70 days away from going to be serious football time, and has there been a year, Dean, let me start this question with you. Has there been a year in Southern Miss football history where it was more uncertain?
History? I don't know. As far as since I've been covering the team, certainly. Yeah. And I started covering them in 2021, so that would have been, is that fifth season? So 21, 22, 23, 24. This is my sixth season, covering Southern Miss football, and it's certainly the most unique, I would say, that I've seen, and a lot of uncertainty, a lot of you really just don't know, and it's funny because I would say that, and I know we're efforting getting head coach Blake Anderson sometime if our technical difficulties alleviate. But I think he would even say that he doesn't, if you told him to sit down and write out a depth chart, he probably couldn't even do it.
No. When you guys go to the media day, and that's not very far off.
Yeah, 2 or 3 weeks.
What's the first question you're going to ask, Kelly? What's the most important question the commissioner needs to be asked about Sun Belt football?
Oh, I'm glad you said football, because I was going to hammer him about the basketball scheduling and why Southern Miss didn't play Coastal Carolina in baseball. When it comes to football, and I think a lot of his tentative speech when he gives the state of the Sun Belt Conference address is going to hinge upon this ruling that's before the U.S. Senate today, because that could change things significantly in the sense that when would these rules take place? Would they be able to get in time for the 26-27 academic year coming up? Most likely not. Most likely you'd think 27-28, because that's just generally the government drags its feet on some things like that, or the feasibility is just not there. But one of the things that he has consistently said is, as a conference, we have to become more relevant. And it's easy to say that, but it's I always love the politicians too when they say, we're going to lower taxes, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, and then it never happens. Well, it's a lot easier said than done. So what can be done? What will you do to help the conference become more relevant in the football landscape?
Yeah, absolutely. And, is there any room for improvement for the conference? Where would that room for improvement be? Would be kind of where I would want to go. And would that be, maybe do you look elsewhere? Do you add teams? How does football become a better product is, I guess, what I'm trying to get at.
And I know that one of the things that he talked about
and they just did have a team in the playoffs, so we should note that.
That's right. And one of the things that he talked about 2 or 3 years ago in his State of the Sun Belt address was attracting big-name coaches to the league. Well, that's when Butch Jones, came from Tennessee or Cincinnati or wherever he was to coach Arkansas State. Well, now you got Billy Napier back in the league, who came from the SEC, now to, attracting bigger name coaches, but it doesn't seem to be translating or picking up any traction. Butch Jones's Arkansas State teams, though competitive, have not exactly been world busters. JMU really has been the most consistent football program, and they've lost each of their last 2 coaches almost immediately. So how can you retain talent not only on the player side but on the coach's side and retain that talent?
I'm really interested to see how good Old Dominion is this year, just for that very thing, because they had a really good season last year, but they also retained a lot of that talent, which is very rare on this level of football. So I'm really interested to see how good they are, with their head coach and things like that. I'm interested to see them. Who are some teams you're interested to see?
I think some of the biggest question marks I have. Let's talk about the West first of all. South Alabama.
Sure.
You just don't know it's kind of like the Forrest Gump box of chocolates. You just don't know what you're going to get with those guys. I'm not really sold on South Alabama. We know about the issues with Southern Miss has as personnel is. So in the West, I think what we're going to see And again, these preseason prognostications, I would not be surprised if in the coaches' poll, Louisiana is the favorite in the West. That would not surprise me. And even as much as transition has taken place at James Madison, in order, as Ric Flair used to say, to be the man, you got to beat the man. And James Madison has been the man.
Right.
But I think that Old Dominion and Marshall are going to be improved on that side.
I think we can all agree that clearly the strength continues to lie in the East, correct?
Yeah, in football for sure.
Yeah, football.
I think Troy, they're kind of that guy on the West, and I expect them to be high in that preseason poll. And I'm also interested to see what we get out of Louisiana Tech. Them coming to the league for the first time and seeing them compete in the Sun Belt, not only in football, but then basketball, then, of course, baseball next season, where you're going to see, that series between Southern Miss and La Tech, hopefully, and stuff like that. So I'm excited to see them in the league.
Yeah, I expect that Sonny Cumbie, the coach at Louisiana Tech, is going to be one of the most sought-after interviews at Media Days because of those very things. We don't know a whole lot about that Louisiana Tech team. And conference, having a person who coached in Conference USA compare the level of play in Conference USA to the Sun Belt. Is there really that big a difference? And Sonny Cumbie has not played yet in the Sun Belt, but it'll be interesting to get his view as to what his initial reaction is of Sun Belt.
That's a good question. Is there that big a difference between Sun Belt and Conference USA football?
I mean, sometimes I see things with my heart rather than my eyes, and with my heart says yes. But when you look at some of the success they had in their bowl games, playing similar competition as Sun Belt teams, perhaps there isn't. That's why I will be intrigued to see what Sonny Cumbie has to say at Louisiana Tech.
I mean, but Louisiana Tech beat Southern Miss last season. They also beat Coastal Carolina, I think, in the bowl game. So they've had success against Sun Belt teams. So I don't really think there's that big of a difference.
Mm-hmm. What do you think will be the biggest story?
Biggest story?
Will it be Louisiana Tech coming into the league?
Yeah, probably that's going to be like Kelly was saying, the media frenzy, to beginning. It's just something new. I remember when we were down there for the first time when Southern Miss entered the league, all anybody could talk about was Southern Miss, and Marshall, and coming into the league, and so I expect that to be a kind of big thing. I expect Keith Gill to talk a lot about James Madison getting into the playoff and how they want to continue to see that. So I think that's going to be the biggest story as far as media days. But as far as the season goes, I'm really interested to see what Louisiana has to offer. Pretty disappointing season last year. They had a pretty decent team. Coach Desmero down there, it seems like this is kind of a make or break year for him.
Mm-hmm. I want to see about the Southern quarterback. I want to get back on Southern Miss about the quarterback situation, because from all indications we're getting, this is a wide open quarterback room. But I still, just based on logic, I just can't believe that Ethan Hampton would come from Illinois without some assurances that he's the number one guy going into the fall. And maybe he will be. But from all indications we're getting, it's a wide open room because Liddy has snaps from last season. He's back. John White was instructed and was helped in strengthening his arm. He looked really good in the spring. A lot of local folks, of course, pushing for John White. Nothing against the other guys, but he's a local guy, and he did stick it out when he had a chance perhaps to leave. So, but I just wonder, they say it's wide open, but I just wonder if Ethan Hampton isn't the guy going into the fall.
Well, he certainly took almost exclusively all of the first team reps in the spring, so that is something to be noted. Now they said that wasn't first team reps, and somebody just has to go first, I guess. But it's like in my head, it's like if somebody has to go first, why couldn't Liddy or John White go on first some of the days? Like Hampton went first every single time.
But logically, doesn't that make sense? If you're an athlete, why would you?
I don't think they promise it, in the sense of like, you will be the starting quarterback next year, but I'm sure they say you will be heavily considered or something like that. I mean, so.
I don't know if that's enough for me to leave where I am.
Well, I mean,
unless where I am.
Well, I mean, he was in Illinois. Is he going to get more better of a chance there?
That's what I was just going to say. As if Illinois said you're not going to get a chance to play.
Look at baseball. I mean, Drew Harrison, who came from Pearl River, he was getting thrown a lot of money at Miami. And Southern Miss said, you're not guaranteed a starting position here, but you certainly will. Compete for a starting job, denied the money at Miami, came to Southern Miss.
We need more of that.
Well, we only have $34 million to work with. compared to Texas.
Hey, real quick as we hit the break, the odds of scale of 1 to 10, the Sun Belt having another team in the National Football Playoffs.
The odds? I'd say less than 10%.
I agree.
5%.
Yeah.
We'll be right back.
Big news from Robinson Electric Supply in Laurel. We've moved. You'll now find us directly behind our old building, right by Sawmill Animal Hospital. We're still your trusted electrical distributor, carrying everything from conduit to tape. And don't forget our full line of Milwaukee tools. Whether you're a contractor or a DIY pro, stop by the new Robinson Electric Supply at 1222 West 6th Street and see what's lighting up Laurel. Robinson Electric Supply. New location, same trusted service.
You're tuned in to the Eagle Hour. The Eagle Hour. Southern Miss to the top.
Hey, you want something good to eat? Tomorrow night, Friday night would be a great night to go to a movie star restaurant. You can order on the menu. They have everything from ribeye steaks to catfish plates. You can go through the buffet, which is what I would prefer, because then you can obviously eat all you want. And they're open from 5 to 8 on Friday night. If you haven't been to a movie star meal on Friday night, I strongly urge that you do. It's really cost effective. The food's always fresh and delicious. The service is always wonderful. It's just a great place.
And a plug that this coming Sunday, of course, is Father's Day. So what better place to take your dad for a really nice meal after church?
See, this is why you make the big dollars on this show.
Well, I told you marketing is my thing, Bob. You know,
Wow.
I could
Father's Day Sunday buffet at movie store.
Can you think of anything better?
No. In fact, any one of my family's welcome to take me if they'd like.
Oh, so your kids are talking to you now?
Well, sometimes. On Saturday afternoons.
Y'all could give me a pre-Father's Day lunch.
We could do that, couldn't we?
But
we could put it on Kelly's card.
But you've got a wife, so she can give you a Father's Day meal. You're done now that you're married. You guys are on your own. You know.
Your wife a good cook?
She is. She's a really good cook, and man, that's important, to have.
Even if
that's real important, Dave. That's real important.
But even if she wasn't a good cook, he'd have never said that.
I tried to tell a young man that worked for me here a couple of years ago. He was going off to get married, and I said, I'm going to give you some advice now. He thought I was kidding. I said, you find a young woman that knows how to cook, because there's going to be a point in life that's going to be the most important thing you're going to have is food. And am I wrong, Kelly? And good food gets more important the older you get.
Yes, but in this politically correct day, Bob, every woman that was listening to the show has just turned it off.
Corey's not that way.
To cooking.
That wouldn't insult her if you talked about her ability to cook.
Absolutely not.
Actually, my son, we were at a wedding, and my son said, "Dad, be honest. Do you see that wedding, working out?" And I said, "I give it 7 years, 3 years if she cooks," because she was not a good cook.
Anyways, yeah. The Major League Baseball had some news today, if y'all want to hear it.
I was still a little dumbfounded by that remark, but go ahead.
That cooking is important.
All right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So the league has proposed sweeping changes to the baseball amateur draft, the MLB draft that's going to come up later this year. What is it, July?
Spit it out, yeah.
I was going to say later this month, but I realized we weren't in July, so just in a few weeks. Starting in 2027, this isn't accepted, but this is their proposal. Both the domestic and international draft would be downsized to 12 rounds with a $200 million bonus pool for each. But this is important. In 2028, the domestic draft would require players to be the age of 20 by September 1st. So that's 2 years removed from high school graduation, meaning high school players then therefore could not be drafted in the MLB. And you need to be 18 by September 1st if you were an international player. So this will obviously be big changes to college baseball. It will raise the draft age, send more top prospects such as E.J. Liddell at Oak Grove. He's predicted to be in the first few rounds of the MLB draft, but he would not be eligible for the draft under the new rules, therefore into the college system.
Well, I've often wondered about that, and you know more about baseball than me, Kelly, and Dima as well. But when you look at the extraordinary talent level of Major League Baseball, with 1 in 10 million exceptions, what high school kid could possibly think they can go compete in Major League Baseball?
All of them.
But what can? What percentage can?
That's a different story. But as far as if they think they can, Well, McGonigal for Detroit this year, I think he's going to turn 20 in August, and he's the youngest player. He's 2 years out of high school, so that's one out of all the guys. Plus, when you take the influx of Asian players and the influx of Dominican players, it's minuscule. Minuscule. And he was talking about sweeping changes. I wanted to mention this earlier in the week because I think they deserve a shout out. The Japanese World Cup team and the way that they pick up after themselves.
No kidding.
Isn't that great?
Could we all learn a lesson from the Japanese soccer fans?
And if folks, our listeners don't know what we're talking about, after their World Cup matches, the Japanese team and their fans sweep up and clean up after themselves with garbage bags, and they dispose of trash in trash cans. So you would never know that they were either on the sideline or in the stands.
No. Now, comment on this as we hit the break. I saw this story last night.
Into the show.
The Irish fans drank all the beer, and I think it was Boston. They cleaned some of the bars out of beer, except they would not drink Bud Light. And I became an Irish soccer fan when I heard that.
Well, hey, in America, you're free to do what you want to do, right?
I mean, you talk about high school players in the MLB. Look at JoJo Parker. I mean, look at the incredible athlete that he was at Purvis, along with his brother Jacob. I mean, what is he now in Kelly in single A or double A?
With the Blue Jays,
right? And it's gonna take a while for him to get where he wants to be. So it's just hard for me to believe that you'd not want to, especially with NIL now, not want to go to college first.
I agree.
For a couple
and those are the greatest baseball players on the planet, and they're grown men. Is that not a big difference?
For sure. Yeah. In many ways. And some people aren't physically men, but because of their circumstances, they've had to mature faster than the kids in America do.
So a lot of developing stuff we'll try to stay on top of it. Thanks for listening. Be careful out there if you're driving around. It still is pretty slick and wet. We'll be back tomorrow at 1 o'clock.
And if you're still listening to the show next year on June 18th of 2027, Congress will still be debating the Save America.
Exactly right.
College Act.
Southern Miss.
To the top.
SuperTalk Mississippi Media Production.